Welcome to the Creatively Conscious podcast hosted by myself, Jacob Hedges. That feels really weird to say. This is the first episode, kind of episode 0 if you wish, because I have one planned as my first episode with a guest, but I wanted to make this episode, and I'll talk you through why I wanted to make this episode in a little bit. This is the podcast where we interview industry professional graphic designers and try and educate beginners through conversation and experiences. That is my little intro. In case you wanted to know, I am very nervous for this, and I would say I'm quite excited. I'm recording this on January 1st, 2021, which is just quite exciting. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I enjoy chatting about design, and I think it's been a long time coming. I've been growing my audience over on Instagram for a while, and I'm just quite excited to bring something new to the platform, talk with other designers about design, create this really nice conversation and flow of knowledge that's being extracted out of both myself and the guests that I have on each episode. Without further ado, I wanted to say the things that I have to say. Things like you can listen to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. However, you can also watch the action, interaction and emotion unfold on YouTube. Thanks for everybody that is joining me today. I think we're just going to jump straight in. I'm a little going off I've got some notes that I wanted to chat through, and a little plan of how I wanted today to go. So my first point is what I'm actually doing today. So as I've discussed, it's a podcast. It is going to be running fortnightly, and I'm going to get guests on pretty much every episode. My aim is to just teach a little and go through people's experiences with hope to inspire and inform beginner designers so that they can really find their voice and their feet in their careers, because I have been designing for about 5 or 6 years now, and I wish I had the amount of knowledge that I do now. So my plan and mission is to really instill that into somebody else so that they can get a nice foot up in their career, and really from this podcast to be a catalyst into their career, which is awesome. So this episode here, like I said, is my episode 0. It's my pilot, and I wanted this to be a shorter episode so that people that just first discovered this podcast can really gauge a bit about what I'm doing, why I'm trying to do it, and maybe figure out whether they like listening to my voice. Not everyone's voice is the nicest, and I might just really annoy you, so I get that. So this is just a shorter episode, breaking people in, so that they can know what they can expect from this podcast. So why I started this endeavor and why I really jumped into this podcasting space is just because I saw a large gap in the market for design podcasts, and I think designers love talking about design. They absolutely love discussing the failures that we see, and I think everyone that sees design from a designer's perspective can talk about it for ages. So I felt like there was a great way to have some flowing conversations that are constantly going off on little tangents and quite informative. I saw that through creating my Instagram and having the audience that I do over there, everyone is so enthusiastic about design, and there's no way to really share that and have a conversation about it, because if you know anything about Instagram, and if you have followed me on Instagram and that's why you're here, we have to realize that Instagram posts are the shortest form of content, really. No one gives you a lot of time. No one probably even reads all of the content that's within the post that you're making. So this is something that's a little bit more long form, something that's probably a little bit more entertaining as well, because you're listening to somebody actually talk through their points rather than having to read and extract that information yourself. And yeah, just a good way to get some new teachings that you might not have actually found before. I have to say, if you see me looking to my left, it's because I got all my notes there, and if you see me looking to my right, it's because I've got all of the technical things going on, so everything that's been recorded at the time. So let's jump in. I don't know if anyone can realise this from these first 5 minutes, but I am very nervous. And I might say a lot. This is something that I need to get practice with, and I hope that I can develop as a host over time. I need to definitely slow down in what I'm saying. I've already established that. So why I'm here and what it really means to be a conscious creative, because I see so many people giving advice to designers and really see a lot of false and true information. But yeah, there's a lot going around about how you should design, what rules are important, what rules aren't important. And I think to be able to give an honest opinion and some self experiences to beginner designers is going to really help. So to be a conscious creative, for me, is just someone that really understands what they're doing and is intentional with how they design. I think there's a lot of unconscious designers out there that don't really think before they place things onto a canvas, and they're really just rushing what they're doing. We're always taught as beginners to research, and there are a lot of people that are self-taught that don't do that. They don't go through the background checks, they don't do the digging, and they design without thinking, like I said. So I'm hoping that with this, I can teach you a little bit about what you're actually doing and how you're creating, but my biggest driver for this podcast is to help with the mindset of why you are a designer, how you can be a better designer through the shifts in your perspective and all that kind of stuff. So the mindset that us designers need to establish is how we carry our workload, what we put our time into, how we effectively and efficiently use our time, and how we remain happy and conscious of what we're doing, because it can be really hard to grasp ideas, how to create those great creative solutions. So I wanted to meet designers and learn their ways, people that have been in the industry for a decade, 2 decades, however long, or even just newly established designers, because everyone has something to bring to the table. And although we all do the same thing day in, day out, the way we do it is personal preference, and we can learn a lot from everybody that we talk to. And that is my mission, so that I can actually become a better designer myself. Because like I said, I've only been doing it 5 or 6 years. I'm not claiming that I am the most professional or most experienced. I just have a passion for design that I really want to explore, and I love talking about it. And I think there's so much that you can find out through conversation and experiences. If you know me through Instagram, then you probably know a little bit about who I am. However, if you don't, if you're joining me from another part of the World Wide Web, the internet, and you have no idea who I am at all, I'm going to give you a little brief description into my life, my experiences, and my story. it's been quite a simple one, I would say. Enjoyable. And my love of design has just come on leaps and bounds over the last few years. So the way I wanted to start it is actually talking about how I fell in love with design. Because I have always really enjoyed art and using my hands to create things and create a idealized world, and the way in which we see the world, I've always loved it being altered and distorted in some sort of creative and expressive way. And that's what art gave me. It gave me the ability to share what I saw. So I studied art. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot about it, the backstory, the why we do things, how we do things, all that kind of stuff that you'd want to know. But then I learned that art isn't the most commercial thing. Unless you're very well established and famous, your art doesn't get sold for the price that it should. Your expression isn't wanted, if that makes sense. No one wants to buy your expression because they don't know who you are. Whereas what I was taught was that graphic design can actually be, there's a lot more of a demand for it, and you can help your commercial companies actually sell a lot more. And designers are really needed in the world that we live in. The amount of advertising, the amount of marketing that goes on, the importance of brand identity, about audience awareness and interaction. There's so much that we do as designers. And I saw this huge market for it. I saw the demand for it. And I loved it. Not to mention the fact that it's basically art with a message, all done on a digital output, which is awesome because you can go back, you can edit things, you can manipulate things without having to take the time to do it all by hand. So that's where I fell in love with design, when someone told me that it was basically art in a commercial suit. So where I want to go with this now is that in the UK we have GCSEs, and I did 2 years of GCSEs graphic design. I got an A in that, which was really great because I felt, you know what, I found something that I have a real passion for and I want to learn about, because that's sometimes difficult, because sometimes things are so interesting to learn about but you haven't got a passion for. Or it could be the other way around. You have a passion for something, but it's so difficult to get into and you can't be bothered to research it. So I'd found this happy medium with graphic design. And I'd done this 2-year course. It was really interesting because you learn about ideation and getting your creativity out there into the world, which is amazing. And the different form factors that your design takes, the different touch points that it's based on, and the materials that you actually have to think about when designing, because that's really important as well. And I hope that I can bring on a guest to actually talk about that further in more detail, because that is very, very interesting. So yeah, then I went on to doing A-levels. A-levels are something you do when you're 16, 17, 18 in the UK. And this is what sets you up to get the qualifications you need to go to university. So I studied maths, art, and graphic design, still with that art background attached to my education because I loved it. That being said, it was a huge amount of work being able to establish myself as a graphic designer and an artist at the same time and get good grades was, I wouldn't recommend doing both. If you want to sail through school and have absolutely no worries and stress at all, don't do two creative subjects. Although I fear that a lot of you that are listening are probably that bit older and have already gone through that. So yeah, then I left A-levels. I got a A-star in graphic design and I got a B in art. And I applied to university. I went to university, got an unconditional offer from Coventry University. I've said university about 5 times in that sentence. But anyway, absolutely enjoyed my first year. As anybody that goes to university in the UK knows, it's all about partying in the first year. Yes, it's a bit of a waste of money if you think about it in that respect, but you'd meet so many people. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to get my teeth into, was the networking that university actually gives you, the tutors that you can learn from and all that kind of stuff. It's all a big experience about learning and meeting people who are probably going to stick with you throughout your entire life, and you never know when you might actually run into them again or need to do work for them or give work to them, that kind of thing. Because after A-levels, I was very much in the feeling that I had a good foundation to build off of. And I saw, this was when I discovered being able to be self-taught and not having to actually have a formal higher education. But I thought, no, this is what I need to do. The networking, the people that I can meet, and just the amazing experience that I could have. So yeah, first year, partying, going out quite a lot, having some hungover university sessions, but it was all setting me up for being a better designer. Well, not the partying, but the first year of university. Because you've got all walks of life, people coming in with a large background or a very small background and everywhere in between. Our first year of university was all about expressing yourself. And if that's something that you would like to learn, definitely go into it, because it's really enjoyable and actionable as well. You make a lot of stuff, you do a lot of things, you learn about different techniques, and you get a little bit of technical advice as well. I mean, I don't think we got a huge amount of technical advice. We had to learn a lot of it ourselves through our own independent research, but yeah, it was great for that sense. And then second year came around, and this is when I found out really what graphic design was. The first year I thought I knew exactly what it was. Second year I learned that I wasn't all that, and that I had a lot to learn, I had a lot to find out, and that the commercial world of design wasn't as I had expected. And then third year, anyway, I graduated in 2020, which obviously wasn't that long ago. Graduated through the pandemic of COVID. Didn't want to bring it up in this episode, but I've had to drop it in there. And yeah, I was put out there into a world that was struggling for university graduates, to try and find a job, to try and get employment in such a topsy-turvy kind of world where no one knows what's going to happen the next month, let alone what's going to happen in a year, 2 years' time. So there weren't a lot of jobs going. People were trying to keep all of their money. The first thing to go, I have to say, is graphic design. People want to make cutbacks. They're going to cut out their designers. It's a sad world for that, but I mean, we learnt that there's a huge amount of opportunity for design in the online community, on social media, on different platforms like Behance, Dribbble, all of these kind of things. And you can actually make yourself established on those different platforms with granted a huge amount of work, but pretty easily, and the entry level is pretty low. So with the lack of opportunities in the job front, on the job front, I had to find a alternative route. And this is where I discovered the community of design on Instagram and really thought to myself, I'm going to share all my work, my entire portfolio, everything I know, because someone might find me and want to hire me. And I thought freelancing in this weird kind of societal shift and everybody trying to fend for themselves, I thought freelancing might have been the way to go, considering no one was trying to hire me. And I made my account. I started to post work. I found that there was a huge amount of time that was needed to put into that, and learned that if I really wanted to make a good go of being a freelancer, I had to learn way more about the business side of things and not just putting myself out there onto the internet, onto Facebook, onto LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff. You have to learn the business of being a designer. This is where I kind of fell out of love with the idea of being a freelancer. I'd done it for 2 or 3 years on and off with different clients that had come to me quite organically, really. I hadn't had to do a huge amount of outward looking, and I thought, if I'm going to make a living from graphic design and being a freelancer, I'm going to have to learn a lot about business. So fortunately for me, I actually got a job as a web designer, and I'm not a web designer. My roots are not in web. I'm not a huge fan of it, or I didn't think so at the time. But my portfolio showed that I had the skills to be able to be a web designer, and the company that was looking at me thought I would be a good fit for them. So I went and became a web designer, and this is where I kind of am. I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 months, I guess, and it allowed me to move out of my parents' home and establish myself in the real world as a real adult and learn different life lessons, which has been amazing and given me ultimately the opportunity to have my own space where I can record this podcast. I still have been creating on Instagram on and off for the past 9 or 10 months, I think it is now. I think I started in, my math's going to be completely off now. I started in April, so I guess it's been 8 months of posting, trying to help beginner designers. Like I said, my mission has always been that, and this is where I find myself now, taking it to the next level, because I thought, I don't want to be a freelancer, but I know that I'm going to need potentially a second revenue that is outside of my 9 to 5, and I love design so much that I have the passion to want to do that. So that's me, I guess, in a nutshell. Yeah, you can call me a designer, a content creator, a podcaster now, a hard worker. That would be the umbrella term for all of what I'm doing right now, because I don't get a huge amount of rest. It was nice to rest over the Christmas period and start this afresh, get a new perspective and open myself up for whatever I'm doing with this, which is amazing. And yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed what I've been talking about today. I hope you understand now a little more about me and my experience and why I wanted to start this podcast. I am going to end the video off right here. So thanks so much to anyone that has made it this far in the show. It's seriously amazing to be able to kind of dump all this information on you and open myself up into being quite vulnerable, because you're having to speak to a camera, and it was quite nerve-wracking, but I think it's been quite good of a first episode. Trust me, it's going to get better, because I'm going to get a lot more practice in. I'm going to be a better host as the episodes go on, I hope. And my, what are they called, where you go your ums and ahs, I hope that they are going to get less and less frequent so that it sounds a little bit better and it sounds a bit more like I know what I'm doing and I'm more confident. Let's see, I hope you guys have taken something away from this episode and really found it quite educational, I guess, in a sense, and that you're excited for more episodes. I have a huge amount of connections with people that I've met through social media, and I have a lot of people that have 10, 20 years experience that I really want to bring on and chat with. I want this to be a hub of design knowledge and information, not just from designers as well, I have to say, from people that create and that are quite creative, because the way people do things is obviously, like I said earlier, very different. So if you want to learn a little bit more about design and have some extra content about design, make sure to follow me on Instagram at hedges.design. I'll leave a link in the description on both the audio and the YouTube video so you can find me quite easily. But like I said, that is all from this visual on YouTube. I'm going to be having an extra 10 minutes of audio only content that's exclusive for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else that you might listen to your podcast. You probably find the Creatively Conscious podcast. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful time. In the audio only exclusive, I'm going to be talking about 2020, my experience of it, and my mission for 2021, and actually potentially mentioning some extra guests that I'm going to have as we move forward with this podcast. So I hope to see you guys over there. If not, like I said, have an amazing day. I'll see you later.